Hey y'all, and welcome back to Booked with Miss B, where we talk books, classroom chaos, and everything in between. And today we're going to be taking a deep dive into my very first manga that actually changed my trajectory as a manga reader and made me the reader that I am today. So honestly, I never read manga in the past because I wasn't really raised with that kind of media. My family never really introduced me to manga or anime or really any foreign media for that, standard. Like when everyone was listening to K-pop and watching K-drama and manga and anime, I was never really part of that. I just didn't really grow up with it, and it seemed really distant from me at the time. For a long time, I thought manga was really just action and fighting and kind of like the more boyish aspects that I thought were kind of childish or really targeted towards boys. Just really not my thing. I'm a big book reader. I really like romance. I really like fantasy. I really like deep stories with usually multiple books, slow unfolding storylines, things like that. So manga just seemed a little bit too fast-paced, a little bit too action-heavy, just really not something that I would normally turn to. I am a huge book reader though, but I never really branched out of that into things like comics, manga, or even graphic novels until college. Actually, my first read that wasn't just a standard novel was when my professor assigned us a graphic novel called Mary's Monster. And this is kind of a graphic novel adaptation of the Frankenstein story. And I really loved it. I thought it was really interesting. And I loved being able to see that story in a different format with images, even if they were black and white. My fiancé, on the other hand, is a huge manga and anime fan, and he really was trying to share that part of his world with me. So when he saw me getting really interested in this graphic novel, he took that as an opportunity to kind of reel me in to more books that he thought I would like with similar styles and things like that. He actually picked Chainsaw Man as my starter, and at first I was not sure why or what that had to do with me, and I gave it a chance anyway. I was already in bed, I was cozy, I was ready to read, and he's like, hey, why don't you read this book that I'm also reading? So he went out and he bought the book for me. So I gave it a chance, I didn't want him to just waste his money. So I opened the book, and within the first few pages I was honestly horrified, but also wildly intrigued at the same time, and I just couldn't put it down. I think I finished the first 2 or 3 books in one night. Yes, I did. My first impressions, it just really had me hooked, and honestly, the main thing that kept me coming back was Denji. Just Denji, that's it. He was just a protagonist. He was broken, he was tragic, and he just wanted toast and boobs, and I love that about him. And the tone was it was dark, it was fast-paced, and it was deeply human in a weird way, since many of the main characters aren't even human. Strange, but it just brings that deeply emotional and brokenness of the human experience to the table. The Chainsaw Man world doesn't hold your hand. It just kind of throws you in to the chaos, and it just expects you to kind of know how it works, but you learn along the way. Like, you're never left hanging wondering why something is happening or why something isn't happening. Like, you learn along the way, but it definitely throws you into the deep end, which is why the first half of the first part I think is the most engaging. It keeps you turning back because you're constantly learning something new and you're constantly slightly confused. The humor was unexpected. It was dirty, it was gritty, but it wasn't trying too hard to be something that it wasn't. And I just didn't expect to open a manga and laugh, flinch, and cry all in one volume, but Chainsaw Man did that for me. I will say, as with every book, I did have my list of favorite characters. Number 1, of course, being Denji. He's a simple character, he's easy to love, he has so much emotional complexity, and you're rooting for him in a weirdly healing way. You can relate, but you can also not relate in all of the best ways possible. He's just such a lovable, young protagonist, and I can't get enough. Second would have to be Power. She just brings the chaotic girl energy to the mix. She's the toxic friend that you weirdly love, and she definitely deserves her place in this book. And honestly, if you don't love power, we can't be friends. I said what I said. And last in my row of 3 is Aki. He's just the quiet one who slowly becomes your emotional support friend. He's stable, he's consistent, you can always rely on him to be Aki, and that's all I have to say. His character arc is just devastating, but I love it. And it really just added another layer to the story that I didn't know needed to be there, but it did. The overall vibe of this manga is just absolutely insane. Chainsaws, devils, cursed contracts, weird demons you would have never thought even existed, all in one place. And somehow it still feels grounded and realistic, which is crazy. The vibe, it's part horror, part comedy, part tragic, and coming of age in the most beautiful way possible. We really see and grow with Denji. We see how he turns into the man, how he takes control of his identity, and how he grows into the person that he is by the end of the first part. The world building is just beautiful. It keeps you curious, it tells you just enough so that you can keep up, but also leaves out enough to keep you curious and to not feel like it's just information dumping on you. The action scenes are cinematic. It really reads like an anime. You can see how it would directly translate into a TV show. Like when I went and watched the anime, I could literally point out sections from the manga and be like, oh, that's this panel. Like, it was so good. It just really showed me how well planned and cinematic the panels actually are, seeing it in that anime format. There's also like a pretty significant shift in tone between volumes as Denji grows up and learns more about himself and about his surroundings and his relationship with the people around him, including Power, Makima, Aki, the whole crew. It doesn't follow the typical shonen rules, I would say, but that's what makes it so addictive and understandable for a reader like me, who is just kind of stepping in to the mangascape and is used to something more like a traditional novel. So now I'm going to transition and talk a little bit more about themes. I'd say one of the biggest ones is survival. Denji literally starts off selling organs just to make ends meet, to get food. Tying into that, we see the poverty, loneliness, and the desperation to belong from him truly. And within that, we also see the use and abuse of power dynamics and manipulation, mainly through Makima and how she controls Denji using his desire for belonging and just that community that he's really searching for. And ultimately, we see the search for identity and meaning throughout Denji's entire storyline. We just see him grow and develop, and it really creates that coming of age, just search for identity kind of vibe. Also, we see heavy discussion around grief, trauma, and what it means to have normal dreams throughout several characters. Even we learn Aki's backstory, and we can see why he's so determined to do the things that he sets his mind to. And we see this especially through Denji and how his relationship with his father and the debt that was left behind by him shapes him as a person just trying to survive. There's not just gore for gore's sake, it says something truly, and it really develops each character in a beautiful way. This manga has truly set the bar so high in my head, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing yet. Every book, every manga, every comic book that I read now is constantly being compared to Chainsaw Man in my brain, and a lot of them are falling short, whether that's fair or not. It's rare for someone's first manga to be this gripping and unpredictable, but mine definitely is. The mix of emotional storytelling, action, and humor, it just feels unmatched, truly. And I am always searching, and I can't wait for the next book to drop so that I can immediately buy it and read the whole thing in one night, obviously. Every other protagonist just feels either too polished or too angsty in comparison. There's truly not another Denji that I've found. Now I'm just gonna give my perspective on the anime versus manga debate. I'm not really sure how much of a debate that should be, but I did watch the anime after reading the manga, and I can say that I loved them both equally, truly. It was such a good translation from manga to anime. I loved the art style in both, whether they were very different, I'll say that, but I think both of them were equally beautiful, and they took the meaning of the manga and just escalated it and brought the life to it that it needed to translate into an anime very seamlessly, very well. I will say that the manga felt rawer and just more intense at times, but that's by no means taking away anything from the anime. If you have a more in-depth or different opinion on this, feel free to put it in the comments after you watch the anime. Honestly, I don't have much of an opinion. I'm normally a reader, but this might be the one and only time that I'll say that I actually loved both equally. I'm not normally a big fan of film adaptations and TV show adaptations, but this one really surprised me. Now for the ultimate question. Would I recommend it? Yes, but with caveats. This is not a series for kids, and I say that wholeheartedly from my middle school teacher brain. I would not introduce this to younger than teenagers, like 15, 16, easy. I definitely think that this is not at all made for children or preteens, younger teens. Definitely be careful if this is something that you're thinking about introducing to your kids, or if you're squeamish, I would also maybe skip. There's a lot of blood, there's a lot of guts, there's just a lot of things happening constantly. So if you have a weak stomach, maybe skip the book or skip over a few pages. But if you love messy characters, insane plots, and brutal honesty, I would definitely go for it, because that's what kept me hooked. It's messy, it's emotional, and sometimes disgusting, but that's exactly what makes it a brilliant piece of art. After finishing Chainsaw Man, I really just felt the need to pivot to something completely different. So the next one that I will be reading is A Sign of Affection. It's a romance manga, which is a lot more similar to many of the books that I'm used to reading, so this change of pace, it might align more with my book taste, and hopefully keep me drawn in just as much as Chainsaw Man has. I'm exploring more genres, and I would love to hear your guys' input. What are some of your favorite mangas, or what did you read after finishing Chainsaw Man? I love to get more involved and to just see what everyone is recommending, so drop that in the comments below to help me out with picking my next titles. As always, if you found the video entertaining or helpful, please consider commenting, and subscribing. And if you finished Chainsaw Man, let me know your emotional damage level down below. Until the next chapter, stay busy, bookworms.